Hello, everyone. I think we're live now. Okay, cool. So thanks for tuning to this webinar. This is part 3 of the Keyword Planner series. And on that note, if you haven't watched any of the previous 2 webinars, do watch those because then this webinar will make even more sense. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about creating content that ranks. And with me today to help us unravel that mystery is the one and only Dan. He is the CEO and co-founder of Resonance Technology, which is the company behind WriterZen. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Hoss. Hi,
How you,
guys. Very nice to see you guys again.
how are you doing?
Good, good, good.
I have a
Definitely.
note on my screen that says, "Do not ask about your air conditioning."
No, I'm good.
Every webinar we talk or I talk about your air conditioning. It's just
Oh,
jealous.
yeah. You need air conditioning here. I'm not sure how it is in over in England, though.
I've got long sleeves. It's August and I have long sleeves, which is completely normal for the UK.
That is
Um,
so weird. I heard it was you guys going through a heat wave or something.
We did, yeah. We had 10 days. That was our summer. We had 10 days of summer, which is again perfectly normal here. Do visit, but bring an umbrella.
My wife was just in Spain a week
Wow.
ago, and she was like in the middle of the heat wave, and she was in Seville, I think, and it was 40 degree. But then she said at night it was like 17, 20 degree. So it's very weird, 20
You
degree difference between
you
the
really
morning
feel the
and
cold. Yeah, you really feel the cold in Spain and countries like Greece. In the daytime, it's really hot. I used to live in Spain, so I know. And then at night, you're shivering. You're literally shivering
wow,
because you've been so hot all day.
yeah,
But yeah, my God, they've had a hell of a heat wave in
yeah.
Europe. Of course, it's completely missed us as usual.
It's quite
Because
normal for Asian people actually. When we see the heat wave, it's like, oh, it's all right. We just go out.
wow, you probably just laugh at the numbers that we come up with in Europe. You say, oh, look at that, look at that. They think that's hot. Okay, so coolness. So before we get started, you just released some new updates. In the last couple of days, some really cool updates for WriterZen. So can you give us an update on that and let us know about those features?
Sure. So basically, in the previous update, we create Keyword Planner, but Keyword Planner is the beginning of how our product vision start to kind of evolving. And one of the part where we want to evolve into is to help users kind of are able to create content as easily and as flexibly as possible. So that's where we start to create the update, which you just saw earlier, just now, where now users are able to kind of create content from anywhere and any point of the tool, particularly any point in which it has the keyword list. So you are now able to, if you research a keyword in Keyword Planner or Keyword Explorer, and let's say you do all your filtering and you do your golden filter, you got your own title in, and you got a list of keyword that you think, oh, this list of keyword looks good, and you just like, hey, you know what, I just want to create content right here. You could simply do that in just a click of a button. Now you can multi-select, so you can create an article based on just single keyword, or you can also multi-select. And when you multi-select, we also give you the option of create multiple article or create one article that include all five or all the keywords. So just make life a lot easier. So the first point of contact is where Keyword Explorer is. The second point is where you actually have, let's say you go into Keyword Explorer, you research a bunch of keyword, you save them into a different keyword list. From the keyword list, then you are also able to then create article based on the list that you save. So you are also able to create article directly from any keyword list that you have. And finally, the last part, in which was missing part of the previous update, was the fact that when you are in Keyword Planner, so there's two scene and two view, right? The first is the cluster view, and the other one is the keyword list view. So in the keyword list view, you have a toggle where it say that show keyword that is not in any cluster.
Hmm.
So essentially, it means that these are the keyword that doesn't really have any cluster to belong to, so they don't have any similar subposition of any other keyword. People now, users now can actually create article on any of these keyword too, the same way that you would be able to do in Keyword Explorer.
Nice. That's really nice. And this is really handy as well because a lot of times you're writing or you're in a niche or a space that you really understand because you've been in it for years. Maybe you actually work in there. in that space, and you come up with a list of keywords, and you understand the market pretty well, and you think, yeah, I'm just ready to write this article. I don't need the extra insights because I know this market. I'm in it every day. And that's a great feature, just being able to do that. And the magic, of course, is that all this happens within one tab. Anyone who's done SEO, for any amount of time knows that, it was completely normal to have like 50 tabs and your machine just dying, your
Yeah.
program just maxing out, and then you lose what tab you were in and stuff, and everything is under one tab. But this is a really, really cool thing. This is a really
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, it's particularly it works really well when you utilizing it with features like Wildcard. So Wildcard
Mm,
is one of those things where you just do, and then you have this list of keywords that are, first of all, is they're definitely long tail. Secondly, it's a very um, what we call is very details, very high level of intention keyword.
mm,
So let's say house, star, borrow money. Then you have a list of a bunch of different keywords that
mm.
are in the same zone. So you could easily create articles that are how-to guides based on the result that come out from Wildcard, which we can probably go through a little bit later on how that looks.
Yeah,
Um,
I was just going to say it's so underutilized, the wildcard, and it's such a powerful feature, and it's been there since the very start of WriterZen. Well, since the early days. We should definitely cover that, if not today, or maybe dip into it today, but it definitely needs to be covered at some point, because I don't think I would bet that not everybody is using it as much as they should. And it should
oh
definitely
yes.
be part of any big campaign. So the wild card is super powerful, and we definitely need to look into that.
Yeah, I mean, based on our data, it doesn't seem like people are really utilizing as much as they should be. It's one of those great features,
Mm,
and I mean, we definitely have been listening to use our users as well. I mean, we know that there are features that they think is really useful, which we are testing out, and we're trying to figure out ways to actually implement into our WriterZen. One of those would be the features where we because our ability to crawl, we are able to detect whether or not the top ranking search position, they are forum, or they are social media site, or they are landing page, so on and so forth. So by detecting it, or like YouTube page, right? So if you know that if the top ranking pages are sort of like social media or forum, or
hmm
video or images, you know that there's a good chance for you to rank for it. And
Absolutely.
I mean, it is really within our technology to be able to do that. So perhaps it's one of those things where we're going to start incorporating a lot more in our future updates,
Yeah.
particularly embedded with like Wildcard and Keyword Planner. I think is extremely powerful combination of different way of doing things.
That's really cool. And on that note, everybody just keep sending in those feature requests, because unlike a lot of tools where you ask for a feature and they say, well, it's not on our roadmap. One thing that's admirable about WriterZen is you've always kept your ears open, and you've asked for feedback, and you consider everything, which is and obviously you have your roadmap, or you try and integrate it into your roadmap, but the fact that you give everything a fair trial, so to speak, it speaks volumes. So do send in any especially any world changing features that you can think of.
Yes, please. I mean, we really rely on your what we call collective intelligence, because we really don't know. A lot of times what we think is right is a lot of times it's not right. So what it is that we're trying to listen as much as possible to our users.
Definitely. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get started, and just a quick thing. We will try and keep this to 45 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm losing it. I say this every webinar and it goes pear-shaped. We will definitely try and keep this to 45 minutes and then go into Q&A, so it'll be nicely done within an hour. Let's just hope. So when it comes to creating content, great content, the real secret is having a great set of keywords to base that content on. Your content can be great, but if it's not attracting keywords, if it doesn't have keywords that attract search volume, then no one's going to see that content. In the previous webinar, we went through filtering and we produced those great keywords. But Dan, could you give us a refresher on that process? of just getting those keywords right before we jump into creating that content?
Yeah, I think that with the current technology, I think one of the key things that everyone should really look at is before the keyword should be considered into writing and put into content plan, it first need to be understood, meaning that you need to know, let's say, a set of keyword, and you look at the set of queries, you see whether or not it's worth fighting for. So few things, right? The first thing is the percentage between brand keyword versus non-brand keyword. If a list of keyword, let's say 1,000 keyword, and 500 of those keyword and 500 of those cluster are already branded keyword, you know that is an extremely competitive market. So you know that, if you, in order for you to kind of set a foot in there, it should be you should have a very strong branding activity. Again, you have to remember SEO is one of the digital marketing channel. It's not everything. So you have to understand there's a bigger picture at work. So you look at search behavior and look at the way people search for things. Let's say if it's banking, for example, or credit card, for example. Those are the kind of niche or the kind of industry that are extremely branded, optimized. So when you look at all the list of queries, you will see that the percentage of branded queries are likely to even outweigh the non-branded queries. So people would probably look at their pain point, or their queries that typically would have to stick with a certain brand. Or how do I use MasterCard? How do I sign up for a Visa card? So things like that, which they already run through a lot of branding activity before they search, right? So you want to pick a list of queries in a niche in which the non-branded are stronger, right, in terms of the way the proportion of those keyword lists. And the second thing is, once you see, okay, there's this list, that's the proportion between non-brand and brand is very healthy. So first, it's healthy proportion. Then you go in there and you start looking at the way the intent laid out, right? If you consider to do organic marketing, obviously you are working with SEO. And if you're working with SEO, obviously your biggest chance to win traffic from organic source are through the content that you write, right? So but in order for you to write the kind of content that people will actually go in there, you need to understand their intent and their buyer journey. So a lot of the keyword in which, when you look at, you will start seeing different intent laid out into place. So let's say a list of keyword have really good non-brand, but majority of the keyword are actually in decision or post-purchase phase, right? Or commercial phase even, right? And very little on the informational phase. Now, it suddenly is reduced the chance for you to win when it comes to organic content, because we did one of this work with one of our big clients where we look at a P2P blending, right, market. And what I realized is that the search behavior P2P landing extremely different. So the list of keyword is highly comparative. Well, it's not too comparative, but when you look at the buyer journey, most of them are decision phase and post-purchase, and they are transactional and commercial intent. So if you look, and then you go into each of the keywords, you take a look at the result page, you realize that they are all landing pages. They're all product pages. They're all from some other brand, some other company that are put up, a product in which they can convert user right away. So you know that the behavior of users when they use Google, when they search for a certain term, are very much on decision phase. Then you should probably not even kind of consider. So then
you're also competing with ads. Sorry, you're also competing with ads in that space. When it's a transactional query, there's going to be a lot of people who go straight to ads. So you've got the landing pages. You've also got the ads taking focus away from
Yes.
as you say, you're just asking for a big fight going into that space.
Yeah, that's correct. So again, the idea here is that be very intentional with when you do the research, so that you don't waste your effort when it comes to content creation. Because I think in the past, the technology never really allowed us, as organic marketer, to actually understand or know what keyword I should target and how, and then it go to content. So now I think that's what we try to do at WriterZen, is we try to give you tools, we try to give you data to help you go through this phase as fluidly, as easily, as flexibly as possible, so that you don't spend so much time wasting your effort into keyword that you won't even have a chance to rank for, or into a niche in which you probably shouldn't even target in the first place. So that's, I think, is the big major idea of keyword planner and the way we label, data the way it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so that that will cover getting the right keywords before creating the content. Okay. So again, quick call out. Do go to the previous webinar because we went into that in depth with all the data labeling and all the insights to create that perfect keyword list. So at that point, we got the right keywords to create the content, and this is where a lot of people struggle at turning a list of keywords effectively into really good content. And if you think before, if you think to pre-AI, which is only November 2022, what that process looked like oftentimes was staring at a blank page on your screen, or a blank page with a few key searches in there, and you had to wordsmith great content around those keywords. And if you wanted to really nail this, you'd spend some time trolling through social media, looking for reading comments and trying to understand your audience's pain points. Do you remember doing that? By the way, trolling through social media comments and just going through these insane comments, just trying to get a picture of your market.
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
do a lot of. That was insane. I used to write a lot of product based copy. So I used to have to spend time in Amazon looking through all these comments of people just to try and figure out their pain points. And I used to also be an Amazon seller for quite some time, so I know that a lot of the comments are generated by competitors, and a lot of time it would just be like one star to say rubbish or a waste of money, waste of time, and those
Yeah.
are not real pain points. So it gets really cloudy and nebulous, and it's difficult to do it that way. And I'm just mentioning this to get an appreciation of how far we've come from
Yeah,
those
I
days.
mean, we really need to thank technology. It's
Mm,
it's crazy how far technology has come, and it's that's what enabled us to build what we built. So I guess one of the way we can go into this is let's go into a detailed kind of walkthrough where we go into keyword planner. I think the first step is to go through keyword planner again, and then
mhm.
I can help kind of go through some of the way that I think would work best for as an use case for people
Yeah,
to kind of, okay, you can start from here. I mean, a lot, because it's also different with different people. We work with bigger brands, and with bigger brands, they care. The way they look at keyword planner, they utilize it is very different from if you are a small affiliate website. If you're a small affiliate website, you want to rank for low hanging fruit kind of keyword. So I get it. I get some of the things that you say, hey, I want low hanging fruits. I want to rank quick. But bigger brands, they care a lot more on buyer journey. They care a
mhm.
lot more on how to convert users from one to the other to the other. They already have domain authority. They already have brand authority. They already have their sort of like news and PR department and all in place. So they have a very strong structure there. So the way they care about keyword and looking for keyword is very different from that of an affiliate. So, but I assume our audience today are a lot more of a smaller sort of websites owners and affiliates and so on. So I guess we can go through a flow where I think is applicable more
Yeah.
for our clients.
Okay.
Let me go in here.
I think a lot of people have asked for case studies. I think that's a great way to learn because even if you're in the, let's say, in the dog walking niche, watching how a local mechanic or local mobile mechanic goes through the tool and applies these things also applies to your business in many ways. So case studies all the way, I think they always win.
Yeah. So again, same thing as you can see earlier. They're all here. Um, So as you can see in the bottom right, the button create articles appear already. So I just want to kind of shout out to the team who built this in a super fast time.
Mm,
Again, now you can create article anywhere from a single keyword
fantastic.
to content creator. Same thing with Explorer. I can go through that later. But again, with this same list of keyword on cluster view, a few things you may want to consider. So first is, I would say that again, you want to look at all the number of I think earlier we will go through this, and we go through brand versus non-brand. So what I mean by earlier is, as you can see here, out of 4,800 keywords, there are 4,100 keywords in this niche, which are non-brand, which is great. It just means that there are not many brand, or this list of keyword or this niche are not dominated by any single or multiple brands. So that it basically means that the market is out there for you to compete, right? So this is a healthy group of keyword. So then you go into the cluster, and then you want to look through the intent just a bit. So you click on non-brand, and you go into look at the intent. Same thing happened. As you can see here, informational is the highest number of cluster. So 115, which is far more than the second, which is transactional at 29. So now it tells you a little bit about this niche, which is a very healthy niche for any affiliate or anyone who try to build your website into this. So you can see that, oh, wow, this is very good. You can actually build organic content, informational, to win this market. Now, thirdly,
can I just say, this is a great niche. These metrics are perfect for somebody who wants to build topical authority in a niche.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to topical authority, I think one of the things that you want to notice is you want to look at topic, you want to look at a cluster, and you want to look at the total search volume of this. So I think total search volume of this entire list are about 2.7 million search volume. So you look at this list as a market, right? So in this entire market, the total demand of the market is 2.7 million searches, search volume per month. So you kind of have a pie chart, right? So that then you can just kind of visualize this. Okay, if the whole pie of the entire place is 2.7 million, so if I can cover up to roughly about 30 to 40% of this search volume in terms of content wise, I will probably be able to claim as a topical authority in this niche. Does that make sense? Because you see, the way Google determine a niche is also out of the total demand that niche has, right? It just, I mean, it's pure simple logic. Google will know it's tiny home. Everyone who search for tiny home, the amount of searches tiny home per month is 2.7 million volumes. And these are all of the queries. Now, if any website in their content list that are able to cover up to, let's say, 20 to 30% of all these queries in terms of just the content alone, well, that kind of tell or signal to Google that, well, this website has sort of authority, because they know what are all the queries that they address, including all the queries that have really high and comparative searches, right? And all the queries that are long tails and trends and so on and so forth. So as you can see here, if you do non-brand, you see the first top 5 is affordable tiny house is 229,000 searches, 219, 55, 47, 48, 36, 31, 16. So if you add these together, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one is 100,000. This one is about 500,000. So that's 600,000. All of these, I would count up to, all of this, I would count out to like 700,000. So 700,000 search volume in just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So 7 only, 7 topic. So out of the 7 topic, let's go to this and see how many cluster that we are looking at. Let's do here too. All right. So 67 cluster, 171 keywords. Okay. So you look at all this list, and then up to here, you get up to about 800 or 700 plus 750,000 searches volume cover. So that is up to about 30+% already, right?
I'm the last person to ask about math.
About 26%. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I'm the Asian guy. Sorry. About 26, 27%. So if you it's just like that. You know, if you look at a pie, and then 37% of that pie are already being covered by a single website in terms of content. Now that kind of signal to Google that, wow, okay, this guy kind of know what they're talking about. And they kind of cover all of the topic and cluster that are really highly comparative too, right? So now you go into information, you do the same thing. Actually, let me turn this off first.
I hope
So
everybody realized that was a master lesson on topical authority, because a lot of the questions that people have is how much content do I need to have that topical authority, and that was a great explanation in a really short, compressed way to highlight exactly what kind of niche you're looking for, what kind of metrics you're looking for, and basically how much to cover, percentage-wise, more or less, for Google to start to say, okay, you have some authority on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, before you talk about ranking, you need to talk about how you tell Google that you are the authority,
Exactly.
right? And one of a great way to tell Google, because it's the chicken and the eggs kind of situation where you can't just simply right away you get to rank, but the more topic you cover, it's like just the volume game, right? The pure volume of the amount of content you can generate to cover a large range of topic and large range of keyword. You kind of signal to Google constantly, hey, I got this one index, I got this one index, I got this group index, I got topic index, and they're all linked together internally and externally. I got some backlinks here, and hey, this, I keep sending signal to Google. So if day one you got like one big topic, and then you tell Google, hey, I cover this topic, Google don't really care, right? But then day 9, day 10, and then day 30, you cover 30% of the entire market. Then you become something, and then you continue to kind of grow that. So that's why we set the volume over here is downward, right? So it's like you go from some large to small amount, and then you can just focus, for example, over here, which this is a great niche because it's very linear towards one sort of intent. So let's say information, you just click on it and it's like, okay, now you just cover the top, whatever topic here that you could get. And you can cover as much as you can, maybe up to 1,000 here, and then you probably are able to kind of get a pretty good idea of all the information. Like when Googlebot look at this range, first of all, they know what queries means what, meaning they know the intent of what queries, so they know, okay, this is informational intent. Now, under informational intent, this marketplace, the information take about for the 50 to 70%. So now if you are the kind of website that cover that kind of percentage of search volume, then it sort of give a very good signal to Google that you are the topical authority. So again, that's one of the way that you could look at it.
Fantastic. We might not need to cover topical authority after this. But again, if anybody wants a good time spent on this, then do let us know. But I think that was we should extract this bit from the webinar and just present that as a topical authority mini masterclass, because that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, another thing you could do also, if you are a smaller website, you just start out, I think it's affiliate, which is the case that what we're working with. You can really utilize the own title, right? And a lot of time in here, you want to start out by covering all the topic, but you want to target all the keyword that are easy to rank, right? So that you tell Google that, hey, I know all these things that people search for, but I want to target the keyword that has higher chance for me to rank because I'm new. So that's where you probably can go to either golden score or own title. I think we can do a simple own title. Just do 20, 20 or 30, right? Click apply, and right away, most of these keywords that you find are now a lot lower in terms of search volume, right? And so it's some of these are only one keyword, and you could write an article just is one keyword too. You don't have to target the other bigger keyword if you feel like you're not ready for it. You can add those keyword in later on. So
and just even adding content that has low search volume or virtually nil, if you add enough of that content, it all helps signal your authority on the topic, because you're covering different areas of that topic, so that when you do start targeting keywords that are higher to rank for, you're going to have a better chance of actually ranking them, because you've already built some topical authority. So every keyword at this is at the beginning of a website's life. Every keyword counts. So if you have low search keywords that are very low competition, definitely include those in at the beginning.
Yeah. Wow. I just found there's this incredible keyword. Look, shed into house. Volume search is 18,100. Own titles 4. And you look at the ranking, top ranking, it's like this website doesn't even have a lexicon. And then the second one is YouTube ranking.
And
Well,
the
you have
third one. Yeah.
it's like this is a huge niche. How
I
come
wish
nobody do this yet?
I wish we hadn't used this one as an example.
It's
Damn,
crazy.
this is a good one. This is a
This
good one.
is really good
Great
niche.
niche. I didn't
Yeah,
even know
this
what
is
tiny house
really
was.
great niche.
I didn't
Look
even
at
know
this.
what tiny house was until you mentioned it in the last webinar. I'd never heard of it.
Is it crazy? I mean, 4.7 million searches. This is a great niche to work on. I mean,
I know.
whoever listens to this and you find this, and if you start a website and you win, please let us know. That would make a great sort of
Absolutely,
case
a
study.
great case study. That I'm just going to say, I've got the feeling that there's going to be a couple of new 100 websites in the tiny house niche in the next few days.
You look at this. I mean, search volume, small shed house is 720, very consistently,
Mm.
And I mean, Pinterest ranking on top,
Wow,
Amazon ranking on top. This is this
that's
is this is
easy.
this is a niche to die for.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Maybe
So
we should do this.
I was just thinking, yeah, just hide the screen, hide the screen. Just change it quickly. Well, yeah, great. So we've got great clusters here. We've got a fantastic niche bonus. So how do we go from here into creating fantastic content? We've got all the elements here to do this.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I mean in the first part is determining your strategy when it comes to keyword planner, right? So you want to plan your keyword, you want to plan your strategy in a way that you have a higher chance of success when you start creating content. Another thing I want to notice here is a lot of people keep telling us that, hey, increase the quality of AI generating content. What I have to say about this is that, I mean, in our line of work, we know so many website people I know personally that have tried and failed in just over utilizing AI generated content. Google knows, you know.
Mm.
So if a piece of content, I mean, the detection get really, really good these days because I mean, at the end of the day, the way AI generate our word, there's a certain rules into it, right? So if they basically are able to detect whether or not a piece of content being generated by AI. So the key here is this: if you have your website have 1,000 blog posts or 1,000 piece of content, and you have like 3 or 4 or 10 or even 15 pieces of content that 100% generated by AI, you probably won't have any problem. But if you have a website that are 100% generated by AI content, I am 100% guarantee that you will run into trouble sooner or later. It doesn't matter. The reason for it is, first of all, when Google realized that you are AI generated content 100%, you don't really provide any new value or any new knowledge in the internet for users. So that's already violate their EEAT rule, right?
Yeah,
If you are all AI generated content, because AI doesn't create new knowledge, they recook what is already there, right? So
exactly.
you have to understand this. A lot of time they spit out a word that sounds so good, but it's because it's already there, and they just kind of compile them and make it their goal, and their only goal is to make content that make you feel like it's convinced. So
Hmm.
you need to realize that do not. I really encourage people to not rely on 100% AI generated content, really. Try to do mix of it, utilize AI to generate sort of like a good frame of content, a good outlines. For example, the reason for us to build content brief here is because we want to make sure we give you a reference point, right? So this list of cluster, these are all the keyword, these are all the labeling. Based on the labeling, we run them through large language model. We tell them, hey, with this labeling, what kind of content format I should write in order for me to win. So this is what we give you. But we still give you not as an absolute value, meaning that we don't just tell you, do this and then you will win. No, we just give you as a reference point. If you like what you see, you can use it. If you don't like what you see, change it, right? Change it here. And then you can tell the AI to kind of go on with you. So you kind of have a way of fixing and ensuring your content come out the right way.
And just remember that the AI is going to use the same. This is a reference for you, but it's also a reference for the AI. So the AI is going to use this in order to generate the content. So this is, as Dan says, your chance to actually go through that brief and change it any which way you want, because that's going to be the reference point for generating the actual article.
Yeah. And again, we do realize the limitation of the prompting at the moment. We will change that soon. We will improve that. So you will see that there's more. I mean, you see how-to guide seems to be like more or less the kind of content format that a lot are using, a lot are utilizing. Soon enough, we'll actually provide you with a much better targeted content format that actually give you an edge over to winning the piece itself. But the bottom line of this point is, please ensure that you make sure you have a human touch in the content that you're producing.
Yeah, just on that note, I read a while ago that OpenAI, I mean, Google's search market is at stake, and they make more money per year. Their turnover is like bigger than many countries' economies put together. So they're not going to do dally about this. So they're already talking to, big companies like OpenAI about helping them detect that content. And one of the things that I heard suggested was that companies like OpenAI and any AI content generation company would work on something like a watermark, which immediately tells the search engine this is AI generated content. And the whole point of that is that there won't be a need for complex tools to try and detect the content when there's actually a watermark. And as I say, Google are still the gorilla of search, and they're not about to lose that revenue or compromise it in any way. So you would imagine that they'd be in talks with these companies saying, listen, we don't want people flooding the web with spam. So you got to do something, and and they're going to make sure that happens. And one of the ways is to create a great way to do it is to create a special watermark that it'd be like a tag that the search engine just looks for and says, yeah. So just bear that in mind, that you're fighting a losing battle if you're relying on AI to create your content and you don't want to spend any time.
I mean, if you put yourself in Google, that's definitely is the way they will have to do it.
Of course, because they're going to protect their revenue.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look very deeply, when you study very deeply about large language model, you realize that large language model rely on their the quality of their training data to produce a better bot, right? A better AI. But if you flood the internet with content that are produced already by AI, and you retrain them on that, the next model will actually become stupider. So AI will gradually become more dumb if their training data are actually generated by AI. So there's a study on that too. And so in their interest, right, Google will not allow that to happen by any means. And I'm sure the same thing with Microsoft. And I think in the next 5-10 years, this position of these two large giants are not going to change, simply because of the cost of training this AI model are so high. So therefore, what we should do, as people who do organic marketing, is to keep on focus on the understanding of the search intent and understanding how you can write content in a way that add value to end users and give different angle and address the right issue.
And one great way to do that is by adding your experience, which is part of that EEAT, and it's something that the AI can't do very well. The AI is not very good at drawing human hands, but it's also not very good at pretending that it has experience on something. If you're writing an article on, let's say, you're a dog walker, you have a dog walking business, and you throw in a story about the time you were walking a Doberman down the road and it chased after an ice cream van and how embarrassing all that was, but you then throw some tips on what to do when you're actually walking the dogs. That's a very human content. So you're adding experience to that, and that's one way to do that. But yeah, good points there.
Yeah. Another point I want to add here before we move on to the next phase is export button. So some of the users were like, "Oh, how do I export this?" Well, just click on export, and then you can either export the selected. So you select and topic over here, the one that you, after filtering, you want to, okay, this is the one that I want to export out, and then I work on other tools. That's fine. You just click on export. So you can either export selected or you can export all. So if you export all, click on this, and then yeah, you will see a file out just like that. And then yeah, it's there, and then basically on the file you'll be able to see everything break down in very detailed manner. So
excellent.
Yeah, so we built this in a way that you also could utilize it on other tools as well. So this export it out, compile them, and then send it over to your content writer, writing it using other tool. That's all fine. Okay, so now let's move to the next part, which is utilizing our content creator to kind of create content that will be winning. Anything else that you want to add over here, Hans?
No, that's all pretty good. I think we covered the bit about the AI. We beat it to death there. Just we're going to use this to get a massive saving on our time, a massive ROI in terms, but you have to treat it as a template. I mean, if you go back to what I was saying before, pre-AI, you would start with a blank page on your screen. Now you can just have the content created. And with WriterZen, it's content created based on very specific insights. So you can say, I want to target people who are in the awareness stage. This is an informational piece, and add all these metrics and insights to create great content. But that gives you a great template. If you go back 6 months ago, and you could do that for every article that you wanted to write for your blog or your website. And, instead of having a blank screen, somebody comes along and gives you a really good article and says you have to spend 20 minutes going through it and just changing it a little bit. You'd have bitten their hand off. You'd have said, yes, of course, I'll take that every time over having to start from a blank page. So don't get lazy and don't think, oh, I can create 100 articles and just publish them. You're getting a great start, and it's a massive saving, as I say. It's great ROI on your efficiency and your time. Just do the extra bit of work. Your whole work has now shifted from having to create an entire article and hope for the best in a lot of cases, to having a great article to start with. And it's easy. All you've got to do is, your job has shifted, but you still have a job. Your job is now to spend half an hour, maybe an hour, just going through something and just personalizing it and just making it uncopyable so that no one else can actually copy that and it applies to them, because you're adding your own experience to the article.
Yeah, I think that in the next few years, human generated content will actually become comparative advantage.
Absolutely.
The whole world is flooded with AI generated content. So therefore, any stuff that is written by human then become unique.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that AI will actually use to train their next AI machine. So yeah, with that, I mean, let's go to the next phase. So again, over here, I think one of the things in which I like to do, I usually would like to do this is, let's say if I like to do two cluster, this and this, and I click on the content brief button. And so I want to see, okay, with this topic, I look through some of the content angle, whether or not if I like the content angle, and then I click, go through some of the sub overview here, and then see what users are searching, or what kind of title that top ranking right now. Can tiny house be parked in RV park? Basic rules. So explore feasibility of parking tiny house in RV park, the benefits and drawback of doing so. The article will provide comprehensive guide for those considering living in tiny house in RV park, including legal consideration, amenity, and community aspect. You look through this, and you look through this, and you kind of see, there are alignment in the way the Google choose what type of content that are being ranked on top, and the kind of content that you see in the content brief, right? And if there is a resemblance, then you're like, okay, you know what? There's a good chance for me to create this kind of content. That likely I will be able to kind of beat this kind of guy, right? So I do the same thing with this. Right now, small houses, and this is listicle. Looks like it all listicle, right? You go down here, and it seems like all listicle. So you can change this to listicle,
Yeah.
right? And then you kind of rewrite this in a way that would actually fit with more listicle format, right?
Yeah.
So in the future, perhaps one of the things that we could do is at the moment you change the content format, I could do a refresh here, and then they will, based on the new content format, will rebuild the new content angle based on this as well,
That
based
would
on
be
the
nice.
title description of this. Yeah. So those are some of the idea, we are cooking, and see we can actually generate a different and better content angle for our users that would actually fit well.
Yeah.
So again, you look at this and you see, okay, most of these are listicle of the things, and then it's YouTube ranking 6, right? And then you get the Pinterest ranking 5. It's
Interesting.
really good.
Can I just say, one way I've always interpreted that, and this is a great way to look at it, is if you're targeting something and you're exploring a niche, and you see that in the top 10 you have like a Pinterest, maybe even Pinterest twice. Google is desperate for good content to show in the top 10. It doesn't want to show Pinterest because Google knows that when somebody is searching for information on tiny house, Pinterest is not going to serve that query. But it just shows you that there's a huge gap there where you can get in, because it's just desperate for content, and it's having to come up with things like Pinterest and forums that mention the word once or twice and says, well, this is the best I've got right now. So that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, then you go through the work, right? This is the grinding of the work where you plan. So in the past, you have to do this such horrible way. It's like you go through H and then you type it out, right? So now the AI kind of suggests for you, and then you just need to look at the suggestion compared to whatever that is in the top SERP, and then you kind of rewrite your content angle, right? And then whatever you think that is correct. Then you click on create article. But when I do create article, choose your project, all right? And then when you choose a project, make sure that the location and language align with what location language you have in the keyword planner. Because when the content are generated over the other side of content creator, the language and location are actually stick with content creator. So whatever project you create here. Okay. So tiny house, for example, typically I look into this, and then the way I choose is actually I choose write article title, description, and outline. Right? I don't really go AI write the whole article just yet, because I want to be able to kind of go in there and start optimizing step by step. Because if you know this is a good niche, and you know that you want to target really well every piece of content in here so that I can win, right? So then you want to make sure your outline has some comparative advantage over your competitor. And the only way for you to do that is you add your own angle, add your own experience, add your own value, and then you do a little more in-depth research with the help of AI. So the AI, you can ask them, hey, you know what? I will just create for me an outline, and I will play around with the outline, right? Instead of like, oh, just write the whole thing for me. I get the temptation, but I would suggest you not to.
This is where people are thinking, this is not why I came here. I wanted just one button. You have to do some work.
Yeah. I think for any win, you need to invest your time and effort in it. So, for example, over here, what I'll do is, as you can see, I optimize step by step. So first, I optimize the way we filter through keyword. I optimize the way I look at a niche. I optimize the way I choose what topic and how many topic I want to cover, how many cluster I want to cover. And then I want to choose the title intent I want to go in for it first, right? And then I optimize the content brief I go into each of the topic. So whatever I got done here, I kind of optimize the content brief. When I'm done with the content brief, then I go into here. Then I know for sure that when the title, description, and outline, generated out, that it's already been optimized accordingly by what I chose in the content briefing part. Right? So step by step of optimization, not just click. It's, I mean, the temptation is there, but
yeah.
probably best not to do it.
But again, if it was super easy, then everybody would be doing it, which means that it'd be a lot harder to actually do this and monetize it in any meaningful way. So the harder something is, the less competition you're going to have. So this is good. This is good. You're getting a tool that does it for you, but then you have to put in some work. That's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, for sure. I think I mean, all good things come with work.
Anything worthwhile is,
Yeah,
has
anything
there has to be
worthwhile.
some blood, sweat, and tears, as they say.
So right now we have two article here that is already in process. So I have
Mhm.
another one called Shed into House. So if you remember, Shed into House was a great article, a great
Mhm.
keyword, right?
Yeah.
It has amazing sort of all in title level. It also have really high search volume, it's 18,000 search volume, and yet it only have like four all in title. It's amazing. It's amazing
Wow.
keyword. So now you go in here and then, because we optimized this part already before, when you get in here, you start just kind of now you optimize this part. So how do you optimize this part? So the first thing is just do a little bit of looking through uh, the part here. So a dev guide to running into share into tiny house. Okay, how to guide. Look at this guy. They rank for both in an in-depth guide to turning a shed into a tiny house. That's it. And then Newsweek. So this is a news website, something
Mhm.
like that. And Business
Wow.
Insider, which is a news again, right?
Wow.
So this one have lexicon, like no lexicon. So it's really low DA for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, you have it's amazing. It's incredible sort of niche that you could look into it. And then you
Mm.
kind of look into, you click on it and then you look a full view. So you see what they write, right? And so you do a little bit of reading. You see exactly what they are writing, what the angle. Containing sewer to your shed. Can you live in a shed? Or there's YouTube. Why should you live in a shed? Okay. How to convert. Um, so look, it's amazing how far you technology bring you now, because on a single page, instead of
Yeah.
having to open five different tabs, you could just click on the website here and then see exactly what they're writing, and you see the angle in which you can take from them, and the angle in which you can kind of
Mm.
build or write that are better, that could outbeat them.
It also keeps you a lot more focused because it's never 5 tabs, is it? It starts as 5 tabs, then you go down the rabbit hole, then you see something, and then you end up with 15 tabs. Now you're checking something that you shouldn't be checking. So this actually
Yes.
keeps you focused.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so again, from looking at this, looking at some of the top ranking URLs, and then you look at the way they write their stuff, right? You just look at all this, you can really start building your own thing over here as well. So, but in order to start all building your own thing over here, you also could look at the way AI or already kind of build it for you. You click on this and you look for expand, convert,
Mhm.
share, perfect solution. And step by step, we walk you through process transforming. That's good. These are all very good. This
Yeah.
actually, for one, it's very similar to the top ranking. It's an in-depth
Mhm.
guide. It's a step
Yeah.
by step, which is how-to guide. The definition, the description sounds very good. It's very inviting. Um, and now go into the outline itself. You have the introduction, the benefit, the factor to consider, planning and preparation. You have to assess obtaining permit, create design plan and budget. The construction, prepare the site, installation, plumbing system, building wall fall ceiling, adding window door, and you look through this. It's quite
Yeah.
similar, right?
Can
Um,
I just add something there for those who normally go to write the whole content with the AI? If you may have forgotten that this is actually the structure of the document in the content creator. So this is the structure part. So what we're looking at here is you can build your own structure. You can actually see what the AI has built for you. You can remove things and add things, and that's what Dan's doing here. He's going to optimize that structure just to make sure that it's a winner.
yeah, for sure. So you look at this and you can do compare side by side with the outlines of, let's say, of a guys that are top ranking. So then you can
Mhm.
just kind of look through how they rank for their content. Some of the things like, why should you live in the shed? Then there's some reasoning into it. Like, oh, this is good point. Maybe
Mhm.
I could consider adding this in there. So you want to add
Mhm.
in that in there. You can add it right below this introduction. Uh, should you? And then you can do, maybe I just add on some of this point, right? And then there it is. You kind of have your reasoning in there for you to support your point here. And if you think you want to add on a little more, you could add a line below, and then you just type, your own idea into this, and then you add that as sort of like a point to support H3, like shared living. Shared is quite flexible to gain permit, something like that, right? So then you turn this into a paragraph, bam. So it's like you kind of build the structure based on not only the suggested structure of the AI, but also the structure in which you can see the comparison with top ranking, and you can take from them the angle in which you think that could add on and give you an edge.
Absolutely.
If you don't like any of these outlines, you could actually click on generate outline again, and then the AI will regenerate a new outline for you based on this part. So I can click on this, and it will run a bit of a scanning, and then we'll probably list out to you a completely new outline. Yeah. Another thing I want to highlight here is we also have sort of like question, right? Question people also ask.
These are gold. These are gold.
Yeah. So if you add any of this in, it's essentially tell Google that, hey, I know what people are asking. I know the queries people are asking, and these are some of the things in which I want to add on. So you can add this as like a Q&A session, or whatever, how's plans, what are the plans? So you can add this as one of the keyword in the planning part, and you put shed in an empty lot. How long do you live in a shed on your property? Another thing you want to look into is Reddit. Reddit is a great way for you to actually create angle in which other people do not know or do it yet, right? So like a shed house, hoping tiny house community help me with a shed to bedroom conversion. Shed to bedroom conversion, that looks good. House price will keep rising here. Domain immigration put demand.
These are real conversations. Reddit is a great place for that.
You could actually you can visit some of this, all of this link in the third step in our tool as well. So I think that's the first part in which I would do. So if you notice, it start with optimizing from the list of keywords from the niche that you are targeting. You see and you strategize them, and then you start optimizing the way a content brief should fit, so that you have a little bit of comparative advantage. And then you go in there and you start optimizing the outlines of your content brief, right? Either it start with the title and description, and then go down with the length of the content, and then go to the outline of the content, and then you compare that to the top ranking part website, and then you kind of see what angle you want to steal. Then you want to add on idea and suggest insight that give you a comparative edge, right? Things that does not even appear on Google before. So you look through some of this content, you start seeing that there's part in here, some of this angle. Why must you turn, what is it? The storage rent. How do I convert share into a mini pony stable? Some of the angle that was never mentioned in other content. You want to add that into your content. Definitely. That's optimizing outline.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And just to mention in there that you've got the AI generated content, but as Dan says, instead of just generating the entire article, you've got a chance here to actually add and tweak that outline, and definitely add things that your normal AI generated content wouldn't have. Things like FAQs, and definitely things from Reddit. That's just going to make it a lot more unique. But this is a great place to actually just really fully load that outline.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much work, because the AI sort of helped you do quite a bit already. But again, the idea here is that turning AI into your allies, but not your replacement. Yeah, that's a good quote.
I was just let's write that down.
Turning AI into your allies, not your replacement. So that's how I would go about optimizing the entire sort of content planning, starting with keyword. I mean, in the past, this took you days. Now you could do it in like a 2-hour session.
But the thing is, this is it. You can do it in one single sitting. I've sat down and just optimized keywords from scratch from Keyword Explorer and gone through to content. And you're done in one sitting, which is amazing because you don't lose continuity. There's a huge disruption. There's been lots of studies done on this, where if you're working on something and then you get distracted by something or somebody tells you something, it takes about 20 minutes for you to actually get back to what you were doing and get fully back in the zone, if you know, or sometimes more, you know. So the huge disruption of having to do this in even in 2 days, because you've slept between those 2 days, and then you have to reacquaint yourself with, and you may not have the freshness, you know, the thoughts that you had on day one. And now you can do all this in just one sitting, and you can be smart about this. And if you're writing 100 articles, don't produce 100 articles and then come back the next day and start tweaking them. You can do 3 or 4. You can do as many as you know you can do in one sitting, and then you know that those are nailed and those are actually, you know, moving the needle.
Yeah, I mean, I would do planning for a day or two. Right. So let's say a tiny house. You go in there, you spend the first few hours to really go through all the detail. You share out all the details and you kind of study the thing. And then you go into the part where you start planning. Okay, these are the list of all the articles that I will write. These are all of the content plan that I will do. Hopefully you get into the 50, right? If you can get 50 article plan out, that's amazing. Right, because you know you already cover a large part of your topical authority, you know, and then you start to generate the title and description only. You don't touch it yet, right? So the first part of your projection, if I would do it, I just spend all of the 2 days, right, doing this for planning for 50, and then you're going to start to optimize for each of the article. Then from the third day onward to, let's say, the 10th day, I'll just go in there and I start optimizing each one and making sure that every one of them meet with the requirement of the outline, making sure it's unique. It has the angle that you are better than the top ranking guy. It has the length that could bring you far and would remain you there. You have an angle in which are different from the rest. So then you go one by one for a 7 days period. I'm sure by the end you got all 50 article kind of figured out. For every article you've done, you just send it to your freelancer writer, or you want to utilize AI so you can write. You can do, you know, whatever. But I would probably have a freelancing guy, because the outline are already so well put together. The freelancing guy is just like, okay, I got it, I'll write. So when they're done writing, they just update the status, you know, in WriterZen, and the next day you go back and just click on review, and that's it. The next part is just reviewing each article every morning and then continue to send more brief over to the freelancer. So in a span of 15 days,
you got crush a niche.
Sorry?
You could crush a niche in a couple of weeks. You know, it's just with some smart planning and finding the right niche, of course. But you can make a good dent in just about any niche if you spend the time planning. Knowing that you can generate the content so quickly and the content briefs and so on, it is a big weight off your shoulders. So you can now happily spend that time on designing that campaign, on actually planning out the articles, because you know that the what used to be the tedious bit is now like automated.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, if I would do it, that would be how I do it. So anyway, in keyword consider. So the second step, you know, again, is to optimize for keyword. And optimizing for keyword, we provide you with 3 lists. Competitor keyword is what we crawl from your competition, and then we suggest to you. The way we build a bit differently is if you use other tool, you start seeing keyword that are single. We call it like single keyword. So it's like the or to or go. We don't really believe in that. You know, we don't really believe in that way. When Google bot go in, they will see that you have the, you know, THE, the word there, then they will rank you. Not really. Yeah. But we do believe in informative keyword, you know, keyword that actually makes sense, and keyword that have volume, and keyword that have relevancy to what you're trying to write. So one of the things you want to go through this, and you start adding, you know, word that are being used by your competitor, but at the same time, as you can see here, they make sense, right? And they have search volume. So storage chat, they're good. You can add on to it. Small space, quite good. and you kind of go through it, and then you have to remember your outline, and then you kind of add the word, that you think that would give you a good chance to beat your competitor, like this one, right? And then you have opportunity keyword is what is the kind of keyword that we crawl keyword explore Google keyword database, and then we find word that doesn't have in your competitor analysis. So in a way, it's sort of like low hanging and comparative word that you can go through. DIY shed into house, this is great. So these are very, very good keyword that you can add on because they already have search volume. Perhaps if you can make it with your content, you can rank for them as well.
Yeah.
And finally, as suggested by WriterZen, is the kind of keyword that we suggest you should add on based on the relevancy and the usage that we see across both of this list of keyword that we go through, right? So again, you can also enter your own keyword here, tapping, add on the usage you think that would add. If you don't like the list keyword, you can click on custom keyword and remove all, and then you can preset to pre-add, and then you can import from your own list, right? So this is the process. I try to keep this step simple, right? I don't think you should
overthink it.
Yeah, on this step, because honestly, Googlebot, it's very smart these days. The fact that you have this keyword or that keyword into your content is not gonna really help that much. In fact, the thing in which I notice that helps a website or an URL or blog post not only rank but to remain is how good their content is relating to the intent of the users. Because if it matches with the intent of the users when they go in and they read, they will stay onto the page. And because Google have the data of your search console and your what is it, the one where they measure the time on site,
analytics.
Analytics. So they will be able to judge whether or not users or traffic, when they go into your website, they read the content, whether or not they will stay on the page and how long they will stay, relating to the length of the content that you provide.
Exactly.
And so if they just go in for like 10 seconds,
you're not serving that search query. And as Dan says, Google, the bot isn't going to look at one keyword and say, oh, you've got that keyword, that's it, you're going to win this. They're looking at the entire thing and saying, does this piece of content, doesn't matter what words you're using, does this piece of content serve that user? Because that's all Google wants. It's just about the user experience. Is that user happy with this content? Did they have to go and continue searching because you didn't answer all the questions? Or was that user satisfied? And if that user is satisfied, you're saying to Google, this is the best content. Anyone with this query can read this, and they don't need to do any further research. And that's gold dust for Google. That's what Google really wants.
Yeah. I really believe in that. So again, over here, if in here, typically, if you only tell AI to create the title, description, and an outline, when you come to here, you could just go on outline over here, and then you click on write all for me. So then the AI will do the job. So click on this, and the thinking. One of the things I recommend you do is go click on questions, go on Reddit, and just kind of scroll through, right? And you start seeing some angle in which that might have helped you. So you, for example, this one, click on visit link, and you go into sorry, let me go into one that
you can definitely usually pick up half a dozen different angles from Reddit, from just looking through the through the Reddit results. Yeah.
Hoping the tiny house community can help me with my shed to bedroom conversion. This is great. Click on visit, and you see this content, and then you can start looking at the content. It's called users generated content, and you then will be able to add some of this content into this piece of content that you're writing.
That could be a H2. That could be a H2. What if you only want to convert a shed into a bedroom instead of a house? That could be a nice H2.
For sure. It's amazing, how much you can add on as angle in which differentiate your content to others. Simply using user-generated content, because I mean that, you know, an answer come directly from someone else who did this before, are amazing kind of content, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be what I, you know, intend to kind of go through and really look through this and start to think on how I want to optimize for the content.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind, one thing I always keep this in mind is if you're going to create a piece of content for your blog or your website, and let's say you're going to spend an hour on this content, your hope is that that content is going to bring traffic to your website, and that means it has to rank, it has to gain visibility. You're likely not to look at that content again or go back to that content. I know, you know, we have the redwood principle where you keep going back to your content and you keep optimizing it, but that's easier said than done. Everybody's busy, and if you have a blog with 1,000 posts, it's more likely that you're not going to be going back to those posts and re-optimizing them every 3 months. That's just not practical. So instead of spending 1 hour, if you can spend an hour and a half or 2 hours doing this extra work, you're going to get so much more ROI out of your time investment. And considering that you're not likely to go back to that post anytime soon to start optimizing it, unless it's like it's making you money and it's worth doing that, you know, you're going to get a lot more from just spending that extra bit of time. And as Dan says, it's going to differentiate you from your competitors, and it's just well worth doing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry again, guys. I mean, we wanted to do this in an hour, and it always ended up an hour something. So
how did this happen?
Yeah. I mean, again, we really wanted to keep this kind of webinar the activity going more consistent basis. I really hope that what we are sharing here can add value to you guys. I think that's what I went earlier is basically how I would go about looking at a niche, looking at a list of keywords. It's not particularly how I would go if I'm a big brand where I have a very strong domain authority and where I have already a huge presence on the internet. But that's would be how I go if I have an affiliate website or, you know, a product I want to sell. I just start out a website. That would be how I would go about.
And you know, it's worth diving into these points the way that we do, I think, because, you know, at the end of the day, you can have a 1 hour webinar which fits nicely into a timeline, but misses out 20% of really good stuff. Or you can have a slightly longer webinar that actually covers things that you may not have heard or thought about and thought, you know what, that's going to make all the difference to my content. So we do try and keep to a timeline, obviously, but sometimes it's impossible when it's such a big subject and there's so much good stuff to share. So, you know, I think we got some time for Q&A because people have sent questions in, and you know, we have to honor them. So thank you, anybody who's thank you to everybody who you know, for staying on.
Let's share the screen for the Q&A.
Yeah, is there a link? Let's have a look.
I can share the screen for the Q&A if you want.
Okay.
Share the screen.
There's some really good stuff in this webinar. This one's a good one. And we didn't talk about air conditioning, so that saved a good 5 minutes.
Yes. So some of the questions here. When choosing the right full article, location was set to Spain. I wanted to Sweden. I couldn't find where to change it. Language was set to Swedish. It wrote the article is in English. The article itself was a little short, could have been longer. It feels like you are only scraping the surface, but then maybe it can be fixed by adding more keyword. I don't know. Yeah. I think this could be a bug. Could you send this to our support in terms of the language? Maybe it could be a bug, or it could be when you set the project and the project is in English and Sweden, right? So location could be in Spain from Keyword Planner, but then when you create a new article, you add on your project, make sure that the project is in the same language and location as is your Keyword Planner.
It's easy to
So
forget sometimes when you create your project, you just leave the defaults on and you move on, and it's an easy thing to forget. But definitely, if you're going to be covering different areas, you need to pay attention to that.
yeah, yeah. For in terms of the length of the article, we will definitely improve. I think soon we know the way to do it is, but the problem is, again, I still highly recommend against utilizing 100% AI generated content.
Mm.
It's not going to help you in the long run. That's for
No.
sure. It's kind of like you're trying to win a war that is unwinnable.
There are people, you will always find videos of somebody saying, you know, my site is fully AI and I have no problems. That just means it hasn't been discovered yet. That doesn't mean that Google looked at it and said, this is fantastic, I love it. Not at all. It just means that's like a thief, you know, who steals, you know, things from people's homes, saying, well, you know, I do this and I can do it, you know, I'm not in jail. Well, that doesn't mean it's a good thing. It just means you haven't been caught yet. So keep
Yes.
that in mind.
Yeah. I wish there's a way to use our own OpenAI API for articles. I think people would pay one-time upgrade to be able to do that. I don't think we have that in our roadmap just yet. We do put it in our initiative and see if we will do that. But we have so many other initiatives that we need to take care of at the moment. So not yet, not yet. We don't really have that yet. But we do have that in the list of the things that we have to consider. How to use WriterZen to build cluster with suggested block title per cluster. I think we went through this webinar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay. I want more case study samples on Keyword Planner. Yeah, you know, I think the best way to learn, and I said this before, is by seeing case studies. Even if they apply to a different niche, you can understand the process more the more you watch it. So definitely we'll consider case studies. And on that note, some people did send in some case studies, the niches that they were in. I remember one of them being construction, but it wasn't a big firm. It was more of like a man in a van kind of thing, a local business. So do send in if you want to see some case studies. That's great. But if you have any ideas on particularly what case studies, because obviously you're in a niche yourself, then do send those in as well. So we actually have the right case studies. Because the last thing we want to do is do case studies that don't make sense for the majority. So yeah, do send those in. But yeah, definitely we'll come up with more case studies.
yeah, I mean, next time we can do one case study in which we recommended not to go into a niche.
Mm. Yeah, that'd be a good one actually, because you talked today about the healthy balance of in that particular case where you're a small website or an affiliate and you're looking for mostly non-branded content, and that was a really nice way to illustrate, you know, what is a good niche, and you can see this. What
Yeah.
are some important elements when it comes to creating a content plan that can help ranking on SERPs? I'm an SEO newbie. You know, I would say, first of all, go to the WriterZen Academy because we have a full course there on SEO, on how to do SEO today and for the foreseeable future. It goes into topical authority, it goes into internal linking, it goes into everything that you need to know. And it's going to give you the fundamentals with real video examples on how to use the tool. Oh, thanks, Dan. This is actually on your screen now. And it's completely free. So this is a good way to skill or reskill. There's already 4 courses there. So definitely start there because that will give you the SM, you know, the fundamentals. And you know, from there. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're creating content that serves a particular or a specific search query. So it's, you know, it becomes intuitive when you know the fundamentals. But it's always going to be about understanding your audience, understanding the insights, understanding what WriterZen gives you now, understanding where that audience is in the buying funnel, what type of content you're actually addressing, whether it's it's an informational piece of content or a transactional piece of content, and actually creating the right content that serves exactly that need. It's like knowing what to say in a conversation. When you meet someone like that and you say they always know what to say, it's exactly like that. It's you're creating content that serves a specific piece, a specific query. So definitely dive into the course, and that's going to arm you with knowledge. And then all these webinars will make even more sense when you digest that course.
Yeah, for sure. I'm using Keyword Planner to optimize article, mostly used for keyword idea to provide new low keyword difficulty. Now I want to use this to content optimization, try and NLP correct. That's great. I mean, just kind of go through the flow in which we were sharing earlier. We try. I think content. To be honest, I think content creation should be more simplified. I think people. I think we wait too much on optimizing per piece of article that we forget optimizing for like end users, right? And as Google getting better and better with their intelligence of understanding the context in which you write about, and they measure everything, your engagement between you and your content and your end users. You don't want to be on that end where you just rank and then you die. It's like you cannot rank for long. So you want to be able to rank and then sustain that ranking. So that's one of the way you should go through.
Absolutely. Always keep in mind that Google is super smart. So they have the biggest AI that's just isn't even public. So and they've come a long way making sure that the search results are clean and they serve the user. So they're not going to fall at the last hurdle. So you can't play dirty when the referee is smarter than you. You just can't afford to. And on that note, I can see the next one. Content created from WriterZen was marked as AI generated content. The only answer to that, unfortunately, is that it is AI content. It is AI generated content. That's why it got marked as AI generated content. And we've beaten this horse to death, but you know the answer already. That is giving you, it's the difference between having a blank piece of, a blank page on your screen where you have to come up with the content, to having the AI create content based on real insights and giving you that as a starting point. And then you have to put in the work and personalize that. And I used the example before of if you're writing for a blog on the dog walking niche, you can inject some real stories, some things that happen to you, and that personalizes the content and moves it away from AI. But yeah, AI generated content was marked as AI generated content is basically what this question says. And well, of course, that makes sense. Do keep in mind, though, that if you write a piece of content and you put it through one of these AI content detectors, a lot of the time that does not come out as 100% human content. So it is difficult.
I mean, the thing is, it's the same with the question below too. There are some tool out there that they're trying to outsmart the way large language model produce content. But when you outsmart the large language, because you see, the way large language model is designed is that they will try to generate the next word that has the highest statistically chosen word in all the documents. For example, how to build, they will choose the next word that is closest to most relevance to whatever the word that is come up before. So there
it's like
is
predictive text.
Factor. Yeah, so there is a factor of deterministic of how they place the word there. So what Google does nowadays is just they reverse engineer that process.
Yeah,
so it's like there's no way Google wouldn't know if a piece of content is AI generated. It doesn't matter how good the AI generated content tool is. It's like you keep going on a war against Google.
Yeah.
But you know that Google will be able to do it. And it's not just even that. They are even able to detect it to a sentence level. So like I said, a lot of time you have not seen a down ranking in your website doesn't mean that it won't happen, right? A lot of website, because previously when you build your website, you already have a large pile of human generated content that are ranking. So Google is not gonna like, oh yeah, this is AI. I'm gonna kill everything. They may start penalize it slowly, But for website, this one I know. For website, you are 100% AI generated.
Yeah,
for sure, you're not going to be able to sustain your ranking.
And you got to keep in mind also that AI was not created to create SEO content that ranks and tricks Google. That's not what AI was created for. And if you understand how a large language model works, like Dan just explained, it is predictive text. So there is a way to reverse engineer that, especially from Google, who also have AI and have different AI models. They understand how AI works. So you're losing it's an impossible battle. Use the AI to generate your content if you want, but then you have to accept that your new job is now a lot easier than it was before. But you still have a job if you want to do SEO and you want to do it well and get results. And your new job is now to get that AI content and humanize it. So yeah.
And also, in our line of work, we work with a lot of quite big clients, enterprise level. And majority of the meeting, when demo to them, we talk to them, they definitely are not using 100% AI generated content. They use AI to do what? They use AI to kind of find different angles so that they can write it better. For example, if a client is doing payment gateway, they want to know, okay, they know that they write this piece of content for beginner. So then they just kind of utilize AI to, let's say, ChatGPT, and they just like, hey, make this paragraph into something that it works for a beginner. When they don't know about this, make this language slightly simpler. So they use AI for that kind of purpose. But the entire length of the content, the way the content structure, the idea behind the content, the angle of the content, it's all come from their team. They use AI to assist them on part in which they know will add value to the end users. So it's a very different way of looking at AI generated content. That's why we are not recommending. It's the same way we build, rather than we click, we generate for you. It may not be the best, but I don't think it should be. And I don't think it will ever be, because it's not new. It's not new knowledge. So that's why we kind of figure out we want to share with you guys.
Absolutely.
Please go through content creation steps in Keyword Planner. We did that today. Low food keyword feature would be great add-on. That's exactly what we're working on. Hopefully, we'll be able to get something down next couple months. Will you consider build more features that can extract the keyword volume straight from big platform like YouTube, TikTok? Not at the moment. YouTube, we do have access to the database, but we haven't really worked with them, so we don't know. So that will be another major project we have to put together to figure out.
Yeah, WriterZen for YouTubers, maybe a new product.
It should be WriterZen. It should be WriterZen for videographers.
WriterZen. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. So I think that's that for today.
Okay.
An hour and a half again. So.
Okay. My goodness.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Next time I'm going to say we're going to try and keep this under an hour and a half. Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And thanks, Dan, once again. We will look at all the feedback. So do send us the feedback, because your feedback determines the content that we create and that we put out on these webinars. So it's really important. Do send us your feedback, and especially with the case studies, let us know what case studies you're interested in, and then we can just make it really relevant for everybody. Okay. Anything else to add, Dan?
No, I'm done. So again, thank you everyone for joining in. Please let us know in our poll what you want to hear next. We want to keep this as 2 week things. So every 2 weeks, hopefully we'll be able to do a few more recording, and then we get it on a regular basis to interact with you guys. All
Excellent.
right.
Fantastic. Is that the air conditioning I can hear? No,
that's it. Aircon, no, this is a good one. It's quiet.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you
very much.
You guys.
I'll see you all again.
Bye bye.
Okay.